I'm standing in front of what was first considered Malvern Colored School. I am in Malvern, Arkansas, and this is a piece of our local history. But how many people really know about our history? What do you know about Malvern Colored School? How did it get here? Where did it come from? The history is so important. I'm going to give you a brief history of Malvern Colored School. In 1912, there was a man named by the name of Booker T. Washington. He approached a very, very rich man by the name of Julius Rosenwald. Julius Rosenwald had made his fortune from Sears and Roebuck. He invested around $40,000, and within a matter of almost a decade, he was a self-made millionaire. And Julius Rosenwald was looking for somewhere to invest his money. One of the first places he invested his money was in Booker T. Washington's Tuskegee Institute, which is now Tuskegee University. So he approached him and said, will you help me build school for African American children across the South? The South? Why in the South? Because in the South, there was an unequal balance of educational opportunities for African Americans. The South is where slavery was. And so people still had a lot of different prejudice when it came to education and equality in education. So once Julius Rosenwald agreed to help build schools across the South, he placed a building project under his organization's name. He had founded an organization in 1917. He hired a man by the name of Samuel L. Smith. He was an African American, and he came to become known as an architect. What did the architect mean? It means he helped draw up the plans for what was later being known as Rosenwald Schools. One thing before any community could come into realization of having a school built, they had to come up with funds. Blacks still had to contribute cash and donations of labor and materials, and the fund emphasized the school should receive money from, quote, white friends. Here in Malvern, that money came from our local school board. But the largest source of funding was from the county tax revenue, which is considered from the school board. County school boards were required to give public support and take ownership of the new school and commit to maintaining the schools as part of their public school system. So what happened was you could apply for a grant for your district for a Rosenwald grant to help build a school. The grants were based on the number of teachers, and the school would have a size designated to them by the amount of students that were needed to attend the school. And Rosenwald would donate anywhere from between 500 and 2,100. Malvern Colored School received the maximum amount because they built a larger school. The plans that were required to be used by the Rosenwald Foundations were standard, but they had different architectural emphasis in mind. One was how the windows were laid out so that you would receive maximum sunlight from the sun, the direction that the school faced for maximum sunlight. And it was built upon the sides, the interior, all of those were required. So one of the things that the community didn't have to worry about, they didn't have to worry about the cost of an architect. They didn't have to worry about the cost of building plans because those were provided by the Rosenwald Foundation. So in Malvern, they did not use exactly a Rosenwald blueprint, but it was similar in construction of other Rosenwald schools. The partnership between Booker T. Washington and Julius Rosenwald was phenomenal. I personally say it's the greatest thing that ever happened to education for African Americans, ever. That partnership sparked an initiative that eventually created more than 5,300 schools, vocational shops, and teacher homes across the 15 states in the South and Southwest from 1912 to 1932. Malvern Colored School was built in 1929. The architect of the schools was a tangible statement of the equality of all children, and their programming made them a focal point of community identity and aspirations. Basically, the school became almost like the community center for the African American community. It proud to be able to provide a quality education, and everyone just was thankful for the opportunity to have a new school in the system. Attending a Rosenwald school was put a student at the vanguard of education for anywhere in the South. I mean, if you were in the South and you were attending a Rosenwald school, then you knew that you were better off. Because before Rosenwald school, guess where classes were held in for some African Americans? In the back of churches, in basements, in homes, even in the fields. And so having the opportunity to attend a newly built Rosenwald school was an amazing opportunity. The effort has been called the most important initiative to advance Black education in the early 20th century, and I totally agree. Here's what happened with Rosenwald and Booker T. Washington's initiative. By 1928, 1/3 of the South's rural Black school children and teachers were served by Rosenwald School. 1/3 of the schools in the South by 1928 was the Rosenwald School. Again, Malvern Colored School was built in 1929. And it is something that our community should be proud of. Here's a group of students, including my father, who is also pictured in here. And my father said this picture was of a group of students who sold war bonds at the time to help the school. A lot of histories in this picture. A lot of histories in this picture. And I'm most proud of the fact of some of the teachers that served as not only educators, but they served as mentors and role models for the African American teachers that attended, the African American students that attended Malvern Colored School. And if you look at this picture, it was taken inside that school in the quote gym/auditorium. You have Miss Harvey, Miss Rambo, Miss Cooper, Miss Wash, Miss Green, an amazing amount of talent, amazing amount of inspiration. And if you look at this picture, one of the memories that I have, not because I attended the school, but of my parents attending and also my grandmother attending the school, is that teachers always came to school dressed professionally. They came to school dressed professionally because they came to show you the very best. And that's what Malvern Colored was. It was the very best. It was the very best for the people who attended. I'm sure many of you, if you lived in Malvern, you probably never even thought to ask, but your parents and grandparents probably attended this school. Take a look at it. Are we going to let their history, what they had as a foundation for achieving any of their dreams, are we going to let that go? Or are we going to help preserve this building so that it can last and serve as a reminder of how important education is? That vanguard of the community that helped actually build this school. Some people say that the $200 that was donated from the community, most of it came from a man by the name of Utah Jones. And if you lived in Malvern, anywhere from 1970 back, you know that Utah Jones was a philanthropist at his best. And so that's probably true because he was probably able to donate that. $200 in 1928. What can we do now in 2020? I need a bunch of Utah Jones. I need you, because Julius Rosenwald, he came and he planted a seed. We need our community. We need people throughout to help plant that seed. Are you able to help? Perhaps you aren't able to help. Do you work for a company or a foundation that has philanthropic funds and is willing to invest and save our Rosenwald School? This lady right here is named Ma E. McGill. When she passed away, she lived on the other side of the school, in the back. She every day could walk out of her front door and look at the school she attended. One of the things that she told me that so hard, and I'm so thankful I got to interview her before she passed. But And she said, I really, really, really wanted to go to school past the 10th grade. But in order to go to school past the 10th grade, at the time she graduated, she had to move. Her family had to be able to afford to send her somewhere. And she wanted to go to Langston High School in Hot Springs. And she said, it was my dream to get an education past the 10th grade. But my aunt, who lived in Hot Springs, she said that she wasn't able to raise a teenager. So I couldn't go stay with her and finish my education. And she said every day when I walk out the door, it's a daily reminder to me that I did at least have an education up until the 9th grade. Miss Mom McGill passed away a year after I interviewed her for this. And I asked you to think of her when you think of letting our school go to ruins. We have a limited amount of time because our time is running out. As you do when you look at the building, some parts of it are just gone. But we cannot let the history of this school fall to disarray. We cannot. We must preserve that history. I'm a middle school teacher, and I tell my students all the time that education, even though it's free, it's public education, it is still a privilege to be educated, because there are so many places around the world that education is not free, education is not required, and it is not even valued. I'm asking you to plant the same seed that Julius Rosenwald planted. Plant the same seed that Utah Jones planted. Remember people like Miss Maud McGill, who attended school here and helped save Malvern Colored School, which was later called Tuggle. Thank you so much.